Okay, I'm back. This is also continuing with the whole genealogy stuff. Um, but yeah, that was about the tax records. So sometimes they weren't listed in tax records because they were not assimilated, meaning they weren't civilized tribes like the Cherokee. Um, let's see. Let me drop down here. Let's see. The one-drop rule for determining the identity and categorization of persons of mixed Black ancestry was applied in policies that classified and assigned identity based on the race of the more socially subordinate parent. Socially subordinate. So whatever the caste system, I know, Latin America, they actually have a caste system and they break it all the way down based on the mixture of the person. But if you are a part of the socially subordinate community, that's what they identified you with. So a lot of people, I get it. A lot of people don't want folks to know that they have certain ancestry because they will be treated inferior. So, I get that. It's just sad that people feed into that today. You see what I'm saying? I can understand if it was based on life and death situations and you pass for something or you pass for another just to make it in this world. But right now, in this day and age, it's sad. It really is. It's sad when people deny certain ancestry because of the whole social status thing, but whatever. Then it says, but where hypo descent assigned racial identity based upon any known Black ancestry, Indian identity followed the logic of hyper descent, which required a minimum amount of Indian blood, usually 1/4 or more. So Blacks were in the hypo descent and the Indians were in the hyper descent. So pretty much the more Indian blood you have, the more Indian you are, apparently. And then the hypo descent is you have that one drop, that's what you are. So you only need one drop of Black blood to be thrown into that category. You need a lot of Native American blood to be put in that category. So then I drop down again. This is page 64. It was eventually decided that persons of mixed white and Indian blood living in white communities who were assimilated would be counted as white, like I just said. However, if the mixed bloods lived among Indians, they will be counted as Indians. See? And you know what? There are no there are no federally recognized indigenous communities, tribes, or whatever in the state of Virginia. There's not one federally recognized one. But you know what? And I'm going to put it out there. Those tribes who are seeking federal recognition from the state of Virginia, and they get it eventually, because I know they will, you best believe it's going to be very little, if not any, Black representation in that tribe. If that person don't even look Black, they don't have Black apparently in their family, or they try to weed it out or erase it or whatever, those tribes are going to get federally recognized first. And it pisses me off. It pisses me off. But I'm telling you, and I'm seeing here too, and this is the way people think. This is the way people think. So people who are mixed or whatever with Native American ancestry and they don't have any Black blood in them, then they can choose to be Native American. They can live the way Native Americans live, okay, within their community. They can walk that red road. You see what I'm saying? They can choose that. Then I'm going over to the next page. It was not until 1890 that the census attempted to enumerate all American Indians, this time counted as Indians taxed. Those American Indians who were living in or near white settlements away from their tribal community and working as farmers, laborers, or in some sort of trade. In other words, prior to 1890, Indians taxed meant in terms of U.S. census. Those Indians who were not tribal members but state citizens and therefore subject to state laws and taxes. Again, people, if you're doing your genealogy, there was a time where those who were not considered civilized, they were not listed in the census records. Okay, they had their own separate, records, so they were not listed in the U.S. Census. Okay, but eventually, if they pay taxes and not necessarily was assimilated or whatever, but they paid taxes and lived as a state citizen, okay, they paid their taxes, then eventually they ended up on the tax records. Okay, all right. Then I'm kind of like flipping over here. This is page 66. It says, from 1890 onward, all American Indians were included in the census. Okay, drop down a little bit more. In 1910 and 1930, all mixed blood Indians were enumerated as Indian. Again, without the black blood. Okay, without the black blood. In conclusion, page 67, it says, in devising racial categories, federal census makers and takers employ a subjective understanding of racial difference in a hierarchy that distinguish Indians and blacks based on notions of race once thought to be natural, but now regarded as unscientific and morally reprehensible. Okay? So because again, a lot of people who don't have the black blood and they mix with Indian, they don't get it, don't care, but I'm putting it out there because it's a problem. So let me okay. I'm just flipping through the book because again, I'm just gonna throw out some stuff out there. So that's why we with black blood have such a hard time, and black and Native American, because remember I just said, like, if they weren't civilized Native Americans or considered civilized, they didn't pay taxes and they were not nowhere in the census. So if you're Native American black like myself, good luck. It's not impossible, but it is very difficult to get these records in order. Okay. Let's see. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay. So, same co-author, Angela, page 81. The name of this portion of the book is called Blended Families, Blended Histories, Documenting Black Indian Families. Okay. In 1900, for example, many Indian families with African ancestry were identified simply as Black. 10 years later, 1910, the same individuals were enumerated on the Indian census schedules. Now she's referring to, the dolls, rolls, and stuff like that, and those Native Americans. I guess it's part of the 5 civilized tribes. So again, her focus is on the 5 civilized tribes for the most part. Okay. But again, I'm referencing her because this is good, because one census they're Black, the next census they show up on the Indian census schedule. Okay. Drop down. The name of that census schedule is called the Special 1910 Indian Census. Okay. It says mixed families from various states, including Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Mississippi, and Oklahoma, are included on the 1910 census. Okay. I was like, what? Are you serious? Let me check that out, because I have folks from North Carolina, pretty much. My paternal side people are from North Carolina, with, right on the border, pretty much. It's an inch on page 82. I drop down. It's like the third paragraph. It says other records that can be used to the genealogists and that document many blended families are the rejected files of the Mississippi Choctaws and the Eastern Band of Cherokees. Okay. Again, other records that can be of use to the genealogists and that document many blended families are the rejected files of the Mississippi Choctaws and the Eastern Band of Cherokees. So even though she's mentioning, the Choctaws and the Cherokees, that is really, really good information. Check out the rejected files. Okay, whatever region that you're from. See if there are any rejected files somewhere, because your people might be on those lists. Of course, military records. You can check those. Census records are limited, especially in relation to the enumeration of Indian people. Okay. And then dropping down again, this is the next page 83. It says, in some cases, self-identification for individuals and communities changed over time. In North Carolina, persons enumerated as Croton in 1900 are later referred to as Lumbee, and Indian communities in Virginia were simply terminated on paper and referred to as white, Black, or mulatto with no reference on their cultural identity. Okay? On paper. And the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 really, really screwed up the records for a lot of us. Again, with the Black and Indian blood. And I'm really talking mostly about Virginia and North Carolina, because that's the region that I'm from. So yeah, again, Indian communities in Virginia were simply terminated on paper. That don't mean that they weren't there. Okay. All right, I am going to start video 2C, okay, in the next clip. Yo.